We need to talk. I feel like I'm getting in a reading slump. Well, I don't know that I'm in one, but I want to prevent it. I feel it coming on, you know, like when you start getting a little sick and you drink an emergency. This is the emergency. Like we're sitting down having an emergency press conference of how I'm avoiding reading slump right now. She needs to be in therapy. I saw that Julia Whalen narrates this audiobook, a breath of fresh air. Dare I say I'm getting 5-star feelings. Let's talk a little bit about the books I have been reading. In the month of June so far, I've read Passion Project by London Sperry, which I loved. It was really good, but it wasn't perfect. There were some things about that book that kind of annoyed me. So I gave it 4 stars. It was good. I'd recommend. I'd read more from the author, but not necessarily like a new all-time fave. And then I also read the Mind F series by St. Abby or Stabby. And that one was just like kind of okay to me too. I definitely understand the hype, but I just felt like it dragged out so long that I got so bored by the end. I was just ready for it to be over, which is the worst feeling when you're reading. But I will say those books were really great to read while I was traveling because it was nice to just have some shorter books to read like on planes and stuff. But now that I'm back, I have been trying to get back in a groove with reading and literally nothing has been sounding good. Part of the struggle with it is that I like can't make up my mind what I want to read. I just don't read any of the ones I'm really excited about because I'm like avoiding them because I'm so excited about them. Does this make any sense? It's kind of like when you have a dinner plate, you have to eat the vegetable first so that you can like get to the other things. I just like keep feeding myself the vegetable books that like I know I should read and I know I should like, but I'm like shitting on myself and I'm not just like letting myself have the like dinner roll that I really want to have, you know what I mean? So what I've been trying to read this week since being back from traveling has been Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I started reading this back in, I think April on audiobook. I was listening to it on a road trip with Anders and we made it like 20% of the way in and then we made it to our destination. So we stopped and then I just never picked it back up, but it was making me anxious, honestly, having this on my currently reading list, like on Goodreads and Fable for so many weeks and like not touching it. I was like, I need to make a decision. I either need to keep reading it or I need to DNF it. And I was really enjoying it. So I was like, let me pick it back up. Let me start it over. I have been reading the actual book itself and listening to the audiobook and I made it like halfway. And my plan today was to just like finish up this book this afternoon. I just like do not want to read this. And like, there's not a good reason why, because it's objectively a good book. I don't know. I'm just not interested in it right now. It's interesting, but I'm not interested. I think I need to just DNF this one and give it like a year at least. And then if I want to come back to it at some point, I will. I just think right now, like, I don't know, sometimes it's just a wrong time kind of thing. And I just think I've read this at the wrong time. That's my current reading update. Yeah, I have a couple hours right now to read and I went to go try to read that one and I was just like, oh, I don't want to read this. So that's why we're starting this vlog. Like I said, I've been avoiding all of these 5-star prediction books and I'm realizing that I need to actually read them. So that is what we're going to do in this video. Hopefully we will find a 5-star. I haven't had a 5-star read. I don't know if I have since maybe One Golden Summer. Let's check. Yeah, no, my last 5-star read was One Golden Summer, which was in April. And it's just criminal to go a month without a 5-star read. Like the amount that I read, my goal is to have at least one 5-star every month. We're going to solve that today. So let's take a look at some of the books that are on the lineup for today's vlog. I probably won't read all of these books in this vlog. I wanted to just give a shout out to the ones that are my 5-star predictions right now. And these are all books you've heard me yap about ad nauseum in my past few videos being like, I'm so excited to read this. I'm so excited to read this. And then I haven't read it. So that's why we're doing this vlog. All right, first up, you already know, babe. It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. This is actually an ARC that I got sent, which is like my prized possession from the publisher. This is my first like physical ARC I've ever been sent from a publisher without like knowing it was coming. I absolutely love Annabelle Monaghan's writing. She writes more like women's fiction, contemporary romance style books, and Summer Romance was one of my favorites from last June. I read that actually this time last year. This is a contender for today's video. We've also got Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This one actually came out this week in June. This is like a magical realism contemporary romance. It's set in the summer in North Carolina. I think this one follows like 2 musicians who have this like weird telepathy connection in their head, and that's like the magical realism piece. It's almost like in fantasy novels where pairs have like a bond that they can like think and speak through. It's like how it seems to be to me. So these 2 like strangers have that, and then they find each other and they like write a song. I don't know, something like that. So we'll see. We've also got Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. TJR has blessed us, graced us. I really like though how she is not like forcing books every year if she doesn't have something that she's proud of. I will always wait for a new release for it to be something that is going to be really good. And I've heard nothing but good things about this. I've also heard it's quite a tearjerker. So it's a little bit more historical fiction. It follows our main character, Joan, in the 1980s, but I don't know too much about it. Okay, we've also got The Conditions of Will. Jessa Hastings actually just recently announced another new book that's coming out in July. I think it's called Time of Our Lives. So now I'm feeling like the pressure's on, like I need to catch up and read this so that then when that one comes out, I can put it on my TBR, and I don't want to keep falling behind on her new releases. I also have 7 Days in June on my Kindle through Kindle Unlimited. So this one is one that's on my mind as well. I'm not like quite as excited about this one as I am about all the other new releases, if I'm being honest. But because it is June and this one is on my TBR, I feel like I should read this one. But this video is about not shoulding on myself. I'm gonna just pick the one that I am feeling right now and I'm in the mood for, and I'm just gonna mood read. But in order to know what I'm in the mood for, I'm going to read the first page or two of all of these books, and then we'll pick the one that I'm feeling the most. So let's do it. Okay, first up, I'm gonna read the prologue of 7 Days in June and see what I think. Okay, interesting. I did like the prologue of this one, but I have nothing to compare it to yet, so. Interesting. Here's the thing with this one. It's definitely like gonna be, I think, a heavier read and a more layered, complex story, which I'm excited for, but just kind of want something lighthearted. So it was a really good start, but that's kind of where my head's at. Then we have Atmosphere. I don't think I'm gonna start this one right now, like I said, just because I think it's a bit of a tearjerker. Kind of just want something lighthearted and like cheesy. So the more I'm reading, the more I'm getting excited about these other two. Sounds like love and it's a love story. So let's read the first like page, prologue, chapter, whatever of both of these. Okay, liked this, loved the writing. The like actual part of the story, I wasn't like obsessed, can't put it down right away at least. So we're gonna give It's a Love Story a chance, and I'm gonna read the first couple pages of this one. Okay, this is the one. This is what we're doing. The writing just immediately hooked me. Love the writing. But then I also was like immediately interested in the main character and like the story she was telling me in a way that was like relatable but not depressing. And so it just feels like the right mix for me right now. The verdict is I'm gonna start It's a Love Story. I'm gonna go put the rest of these books away and like get myself resituated to sit down and like actually start it. Since It's a Love Story is the one that I'm going with, I wanted to give you a quick plot synopsis just so that you kind of have a sense of what this book's about as I start reading it. It's a Love Story. It follows Jane Jackson, who is a former child TV star. She was on a really famous sitcom, and I think she was kind of like the punchline of a lot of the jokes on the sitcom, kind of like how I think of like Kimmy in like Full House maybe, or like Janice in Friends, you know, kind of like that comic relief character. They called her poor Janie Jakes when she was on the TV show when she was little. Like that has to be so traumatizing. Anyway, now she's trying to be taken seriously as a Hollywood executive, and she's trying to get her first screenplay for a movie greenlit. Jane is so desperate to get this project off the ground. She wants to be taken seriously. She wants to be successful. So she ends up caught in a little bit of a lie. She says that this guy, Jack, who was actually her first kiss 20 years ago, and she hasn't spoken to him since, is gonna write a song for her movie because now he's a famous pop star, when no such promise was made from Jack. So Jane actually has to turn to Dan, who is a pompous cinematographer. She needs his help because Jack is actually playing a music festival in Dan's hometown. So Jane goes to spend a week with Dan in his hometown, and they're gonna try to track down the pop star and get all this mess figured out. So that's kind of the setup, but I'm just so excited to get started with this one. It's officially summer. I've got an Annabelle Monaghan book in my hand, and I'm ready to read. It was time for an update on It's a Love Story. I started this book on Friday night and it's now Sunday afternoon. I'm on page 124 out of like 330, I want to say. I probably read like 50 pages on Friday afternoon, then had to go to like a dinner thing. Then yesterday, I actually took my Kindle to the pool. I was just hanging out with some friends and doing some reading, and I forgot that I actually have the e-arc of this book. So I was reading that because it was already loaded onto my Kindle, but then my Kindle overheated. So I read like 2 or 3 chapters, not too much, but I made a little bit more progress yesterday and then have just been reading a bit more today as well. I feel like I've been taking this one a little bit slowly, even though it's a really quick read. I've just been trying not to like force myself to read when I'm not like feeling it. I'm really enjoying the book so far. I haven't found this book to be like super addictive. I feel like the first like third of it or so has been a little bit slow. The premise of this one isn't necessarily my favorite from Annabelle Monaghan out of all of her books, but I still feel like it has a ton of potential. I'd say right now we're like in a 4-star territory, but again, it's early days. It's just been like a breath of fresh air, very summery, very snackable. The romance in this book is definitely like a super slow burn. There's definitely some forced proximity too. And our main female character, Jane, has a lot of layers underneath from being a childhood star. As you can imagine, I think if you read I'm Glad My Mom Died, honestly, I see a few parallels between Jeanette McCurdy and Jane. Nothing crazy or overt. Like their stories are very different, but Jane was kind of the punchline, telling the jokes and like doing the silly things, where I feel like Sam Puckett on iCarly was very similar, where she like had the butter sock and just like did some of those funny things and wasn't like seen as like the love interest. She was seen as like the comic relief. And that's kind of how Jane felt on the show growing up, and that like really impacted her in her adolescence, I think. And then Jane's dad also passed away when she was like 5 years old, I think. And so she has a little bit of like trauma and sadness and grief just around kind of growing up without a father. She and her mom were really poor, and so her going and becoming famous on this TV show really brought them out of poverty and kind of saved them in a way. I think she kind of felt like the provider probably for a long time with her family and with her mom. So that's a little bit of the dynamic for her, where there's like a lot to unpack, and it's definitely going to affect how she approaches relationships. I've listened to a couple chapters of the audiobook on Spotify here and there this weekend as well. I definitely am preferring, I think, reading the actual book, but the audiobook is really good too. I would say it's like an equal experience. Not one is better than the other. For me personally, I think I'm just preferring to read the physical book. So yeah, that is my It's a Love Story update. I'm probably just going to keep reading throughout the weekend. Just wanted to pop in, give you the update on It's a Love Story, and tell you that it's going great. So, okay, it's the next day. Today is Monday, and I've read a good bit more of It's a Love Story. I'm on page 244, and I think I have like 80 pages left or so. My overall status update on this is that I am really liking it. I'm not loving it. Like, it's not my new favorite book or anything like that. So, unfortunately, I feel like I am like slightly disappointed, which is not fair because I feel like it's definitely meeting my expectations. It's just not necessarily exceeding them. I do think that Annabelle Monaghan packs the biggest punch in kind of the last parts of her book. So I am optimistic that the last like 20% is gonna improve it for me. I don't know what it is exactly. I'm trying to like put my finger on it. I think I'm just not like super attached to these characters. And I think for me with Jane, her main struggle is just kind of her own self-image and the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are based on the projections from other people. And I feel like that persona of who she was on TV has really followed her almost more internally than externally. I actually wanted to mention too, I saw an anecdote that like on Annabelle Monaghan's book tour, she was kind of talking about how I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy like loosely inspired some of the stuff with Jane. And I just thought that was really interesting since I kind of made that connection before in the vlog and I didn't know it yet. So I feel validated. I am going to sit here. I just got off work for the day. I have a workout class in like 2 hours I need to go to. I'm gonna try to finish this one before I have to go. Let's sit here and finish up It's a Love Story. Y'all, Jane is pissing me off so bad with this like third act crash out. It's just like my least favorite type of conflict. She needs to be in therapy. And I'm so sorry. I feel like I keep thinking about and talking about therapy in books. Like when I was reading Passion Project, I didn't vlog that. I was thinking about therapy a lot in that book too. And I just struggle when the conflict has to do with like a downward spiral that could have been avoided if the character went to therapy. And I know therapy isn't accessible to everyone, and like that's a really simple solution for really complicated problems, and it can be a lot more complicated than that. And just because you go to therapy doesn't mean that you might not have like a crash out like this, but she has no like coping mechanisms, and it's super unfair to our main male character who's like dealing with this, and it's not his job to fix it. I wish some of these things were kind of like explored or worked through throughout the book, and that we didn't just have this like big crash out in the last 10% and have to solve it all in like a really short amount of time. I just get frustrated when you see the writing on the wall and then it all blows up in the last little bit and we didn't like address any of it sooner, if that makes any sense. It's just, she's being so dramatic. Like she is really spiraling, which we've all been there, but to me, it just feels like we're lacking a little bit of emotional intelligence and it's annoying. So we'll see if she redeems herself. I feel like I'm not. It's not getting better. Here's what it is that I don't resonate with and that I don't connect with about Jane. I finally figured it out. She's an avoidant when it comes to conflict, love, all that stuff. And I just cannot relate to that. I'm the opposite. I tend to be much more of like an anxious problem solver, an anxious attachment. I like to think I'm healthy attachment, but I do lean. I feel like everyone leans one way, you know, when you're not as healthy. Kind of like my skin, normal to dry. My attachment style, normal to anxious. Jane here is avoidant. So I think sometimes I just really struggle to identify with avoidant. It doesn't mean that it's not valid. It's just like, as someone who has more anxious tendencies, avoidance can really frustrate me in romance books because it's so painful when you're the anxious person and someone's avoiding you. Like, it actually hurts so bad. Anyway, I'm feeling very insightful today. Okay, I finished It's a Love Story and I'm disappointed. I'm sorry. This one is just not my favorite from Annabelle Monaghan. Maybe also I'm just reading more of this genre, and like the more I read, the more nitpicky I definitely get. I feel like most of the book was tracking at like a 4-star. I really liked it. And then the ending actually went down for me. I feel like I need to give it like a 3.75 or a 3.5. I just did not really connect with this one, which I'm so sad to share. I do really love Annabelle Monaghan's writing, and I will definitely read more from her in the future. A couple things to note about this book. I do think it's a really good beach read, super solid. If you live on Long Island or near Long Island, a lot of it is set there, so it could be really fun to read there. It's super beachy. You've got like bike rides through Long Island. You've got a beach bonfire. There's friendship bracelets. There is a really big family in this book, which is Dan's family when they go to stay with him. And his family is kind of a big part of the plot. There's a lot of names to kind of keep up with, but it's really like that cozy big family, kind of like Chestnut Springs almost, where they're all kind of like really honest with each other, you know what I mean? So I really did love that. And that was one of my favorite parts of the book. And it also contrasts with our main character, Jane, who has a really tiny family. It's just her and her mom. Another thing about this book is that it references The Notebook a ton. If you haven't seen that movie, you should probably watch it before reading this book. The ending just really like, I almost want to say like ruined it for me. Like I was really hoping I was going to sit here and be swooning for the last like 50, 80 pages. And it just kind of tanked it. Like, I'm so sorry. You guys saw my reaction. It's not the fact that there was like a third act breakup, a third act conflict. We always see that coming. And honestly, I don't know what I expected because it made a lot of sense for the characters, for the plot. We did need this like reckoning from our main character for her own development. I think I just wish there had been like more along the way. I don't know. I just felt like Jane was pretty reckless in the end, and I didn't like it. I love the writing, and that does go a really long way for me. And if some of the themes that I talked about that are in this book connected for you, this may be a new favorite for you, but sadly just wasn't a new favorite for me. So even though that one wasn't a new 5-star for me, I don't feel too slumpy. I just feel hopeful and optimistic. I'm actually not sure what I want to start next, but I will let you guys know once I pick a new book. I got back from my workout class. Timing worked out perfectly. I finished the book, wrote my review for It's a Love Story. I wrote a pretty long review on Goodreads, but just kind of echoes a lot of what I've already told you guys. And then I ran to the workout class. I had like 5 minutes to change and get ready and go. I need to eat dinner, shower, and I want to start a new book. So I was thinking I would go ahead and tell you what book I'm going to start because I was thinking about listening to the audiobook while I take a shower and make dinner. The next book I'm going to be reading in today's video is none other than Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am so excited. I saw that Julia Whalen narrates this audiobook. Julia Whalen is one of the best narrators. She always does a great job. So I'm so excited to read this. I'm hoping for a 5-star feeling with this one. So I'm going to start with the audiobook and see how that goes. I definitely also want to like sit down and read it because I feel like there's just something special about like taking your time with a new Taylor Jenkins Reid book. So I'm going to do all that and kind of wind down for the night. I also need to put my laundry away, which is a good audiobook thing to do tonight. We're going to start Atmosphere. I'm so excited. Wish me luck. I forgot to say, and I meant to say, part of the reason I'm picking Atmosphere, mostly it's because I feel like I need a little bit more of an emotional read now after reading It's a Love Story and feeling kind of cynical about these like lighter hearted stories that I want more depth and more like character-based stuff. I feel like this book will do a little bit of a better job and satisfy me a little bit more with some of the things that I've been craving. So that's what went into my decision-making process, and I'm gonna put on the audiobook. Okay, good morning. I did not do really any reading last night, so all that yapping and then no follow through. What I did last night instead was watch Love Island USA, unfortunately. But keeping up with Love Island is like a full-time job. Like, It's exhausting. I feel like there's always a new episode. I'm always getting spoilers. I'm doing my best. Anders and I watched like 2 episodes of Love Island. We're almost caught up. All that to say, I do get to work from home today, which I'm glad about. It's just about 7, so we've got 2 hours till I need to start my work day. So we're gonna get back on track this morning. I'm gonna actually start Atmosphere now. This is like the Barnes & Noble exclusive, and why can we not have a more exciting hardcover underneath? Like, why is this is the exclusive? Okay. And then we do have these Starry Night kind of end papers, but I'm not going to lie, guys, these are kind of boring. This just looks like a photo you can get from a stock website. And maybe there's a bigger meaning to that. I don't know. I was kind of hoping for some more exciting art. Free will. Let's Google it. Its end papers feature a gorgeous printed image of the actual night sky in the area of the sky in which the Hercules constellation is visible, which is relevant to a key scene in the novel. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. The edition also includes exclusive content of 6 star charts that will allow readers to identify the constellation. Where is that? Is that in the back? Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's these little star charts for each of the different months. I'm going to turn on the audiobook and make my bed. I'm going to go do my makeup for the day. I still need to put my laundry away from last night. I'm going to make a matcha. So just kind of all the morning things to get ready for my work day. And I figure I will listen and get started with Atmosphere as I do that. But before I jump into the audiobook, I did just want to tell you guys what this book is about because we never really went over that. This book is set in the 1980s. So it's actually been classified as historical fiction. But we're following Joan Goodwin, who is an astronomy professor. She's always been obsessed with space, but she never thought that she would actually go there until Joan sees an ad to join NASA's space shuttle program. They are seeking the first women scientists to join. So of course she shoots her shot. And of course our girl Joan gets accepted. She ends up training alongside a very diverse group of candidates like in her program. Like there is a Top Gun pilot, a scientist, a mission specialist. Like we've got all kinds of people, I think. And I'm really excited to see. I feel like there's going to be some really good found family in this book. But as the group kind of bonds and they all prepare for the mission, I think Joan just starts to really like delight in life and find a love that she never imagined. It seems like a really reflective book, which you guys know those are my favorites. But when their mission in 1984 takes a devastating turn, everything changes in an instant and Joan begins to question everything she thought she knew. And I think overall it's just a story about like chasing your dreams, finding your passion, truly like living your life to the fullest and the power of connection while doing that. I did already read the author's note, which was so sweet. Definitely don't miss the author's note in the beginning. We're gonna get our day started. So that is my update. Made my bed and then I very clearly got sidetracked because you need to read the first 16 pages of this book, then you can switch to the audiobook. But just listening, I was like, whoa, I need to sit down and like look at this. You switch POVs within a chapter between the space shuttle and Houston. And also the first chapter is in 1984 and then we go back to 7 years earlier. I also would recommend getting a sense of what this story is. Like definitely read the book description before jumping in because I think that's going to help you understand what's going on right away, because we've got this like mission in 1984 that goes awry in some way, and now we're going to go back and get Joan's full backstory, and I'm assuming build up back to that. I don't know, I definitely was like confused a little bit in the beginning, and I think that's okay. Sometimes you just have to like roll with it. There's a lot of like NASA terminology. I feel like if you've seen any kind of like space movie, I'm able to kind of like process like, oh, that didn't end up mattering in the movie and it's not going to end up mattering here. It's more just about what's going on and not about like the details. But I do appreciate that Taylor Jenkins Reid is like getting all the details right, because I'm sure that's hopefully really satisfying if you do know more about this. And it seems like she did a lot of research to make sure that it is right, so I kind of trust that it is. Okay, I'm gonna just listen now that we're going and getting Joan's backstory now. I feel like that'll be easier to follow along with on the audiobook. It's just about 9 o'clock now, so I am starting my work day. I made a strawberry matcha. As you guys saw, I'm obsessed with my matcha right now. It's definitely on the sweeter side, but I use a strawberry protein shake, so it's like a protein matcha. Sometimes I just have this for breakfast, honestly. But yeah, I found a matcha powder that I've been loving lately. I'll link it down below. The strawberry protein drink, so good. Makes it so like creamy and sweeter without it tasting like too milky. It's just phenomenal. So oh, it's just so good. I'm gonna enjoy this while I get started with work, but I did also want to give you a quick atmosphere update. I did pick up the book here and there while I was getting ready this morning. So yeah, I got to page 80. I think I'm about a quarter of the way through the book. So I feel like this is a good time to give like first impressions, and I am really enjoying it so far. I do feel like it gets a little bit bogged down in a lot of the technical details and jargon, but I also know that it's all correct and it's important to the story. It can feel like some of it's going over your head. And then sometimes when I feel like I do know a little something. I really love the movie Hidden Figures. If you guys have seen that, it deals with race and the NASA space program. I've seen that movie several times. And so some of the lingo and stuff is kind of coming to me from that. I've seen like Interstellar. I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like I've seen some of the big ones, some of the big space movies, but it's just something where I was noticing like, oh, I actually know what this means because of seeing one of those movies. Joan has said that she's not really interested in dating. So there's been no like romance so far. So I'm interested to see if that evolves or if the love story has more to do with Joan loving her work or how that kind of evolves, because even though it says a love story doesn't necessarily mean it's a romance. But Joan is definitely a little bit more like, I want to say workaholic, but she's just like someone who loves something so fervently and that's just like her life and she wants that to be her life and I respect it. And she definitely can be a little bit stubborn too. She doesn't want anything to get in the way of her relationship with her love for what she does. And so letting someone in, I feel like she'd have to make concessions. And she was just like, I don't really understand like why I'd want to compromise things for the rest of my life, which is an interesting perspective. Obviously, we could sit here and debate it. One thing I really love about Taylor Jenkins Reid's work is that I feel really connected with the characters. And even though I'm a totally different kind of person from Joan, I do really respect her. And even though we're so different, I still am able to connect with her. And I think that's something that Taylor Jenkins Reid does really, really well. I almost always find myself really attached to her characters, whether they are like me or completely unlike me. And that's something that I really love because I think it challenges me too to grow more and see other perspectives, and it allows me to kind of further develop my like empathy, I feel like, when I'm able to connect with people who are so different from me. And I think sometimes in other writing, I only find it easy to connect with characters when I have things in common with them or similarities. But that's enough of my rambling for now. I'm going to start work for the day and we'll check in later. And I definitely want to read more tonight because this is bringing this, dare I say I'm getting 5-star feelings. I don't want to speak too soon. I like already want to pick the book back up and it's 9 a.m. So I may try to sneak in a chapter or two my lunch break, but we will definitely be reading more tonight. So I will see you later. Okay, I wrapped up with work for the day. It's just about 5:30 now. I have a workout class at 6:30. I'm going to Pilates again and I need to head out the door around 6, but I have 30 minutes right now. So I'm going to sit here and listen to the audiobook some more. I showed that I started needle pointing in my Getting Out of a Rut vlog, if you missed that. So I'm still working on the same project. Needle pointing takes forever, especially if you're a beginner, but it's kind of hard to see what I've done. You can see on the back, but I've done like the tulip. I did like 2 rows at the top when I got started just to kind of figure it out. Then I went in and did the tulip and then I did this part. So now I'm just going around and basically just going to fill in the rest of the pink. I thought I would just sit here and do that, work on my needle point and listen to the audiobook. I've found that listening to audiobooks while needle pointing is like the ultimate hobby combo. I really was enjoying coloring and listening to audiobooks, but I feel like for me with coloring as a hobby, I just wanted something like more tangible. So that's why I'm trying out needle pointing and I'm really loving it. This is my first canvas ever, but I don't know what I should turn it into. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. I was thinking maybe a coaster, but it's like a little bit big for a coaster. It's kind of a weird size, but it's just like a beginner project that I got. Anyways, I'm wasting time talking to you. I only have 30 minutes, but I think I'm just going to sit here, work on my needle pointing and listen to the audiobook. And then when I get home tonight, I definitely am going to like lay in bed and binge read this book for the rest of the night because it's so good. And I'm really in the mood to just like sit and binge read this book. I really thought about canceling my workout class to just read this book tonight, but I saw that my favorite instructor got subbed in for tonight's class. And so I was like, well, I can't cancel now because it's my favorite instructor. So I will in fact be going. So my friend Abigail and I are going to go see our girl Chandler. Tonight's class is a buns and guns class. I think the names are so fun. But yeah, okay, anyways, I'm going to keep working on my little tulip canvas. I'm going to keep listening to Atmosphere. Okay, hey besties, I am back home from Pilates and I've been reading Atmosphere ever since I got home. I was listening to it while I took a shower and made dinner and then switched to reading it. Anders got home, we hung out for a bit. I think we could finish this one tonight. I've just like constantly been listening to it all day today. But yeah, I think I have about 80 pages left. So I would say this will take me another hour or two to finish up. And I thought we could finish it together because I've heard that it is quite the tearjerker. But before we do that, I wanted to just update you on all my thoughts and stuff. I'm still absolutely loving this book. I both want to devour it and read the rest of it tonight, which we are going to do. But another part of me really wants to like savor it because it's just so well done. It's just like nourishing. Like some books are more like snacks and some are more like hearty meals. And this one is just like a good, hearty, nutritious meal. I feel so nourished. Like what I was saying earlier, she just makes it so easy to connect with characters. And that is what really works for me. I will say it has turned into much more of a love story and a bit of a romance. I felt like it was super fun not knowing who the love interest was going to be and kind of having those feelings come up alongside Joan. But yeah, there's definitely a love story in here. I would say the first like 30% felt a lot more spacey. And then from 30 to like 75% where I am now, it's felt a lot more romancy. So I do think the front chunk is loaded with a little bit more of that space stuff, like what I was talking about, where it can feel a little overwhelming, but then I feel like there hasn't been nearly as much of that throughout the middle of the book. My only regrets about listening to the majority of this book is just that there have been so many amazing quotes that I wish I had the physical copy out to like annotate and tab up. I did tab one when I had the book nearby and I just like found it really quickly, but I'm gonna read the physical copy for the last like 80 pages. Let's get to reading. I'm honestly terrified, but I'm gonna be really courageous about it. So let's do it. Five stars, obviously. Oh, it was so good. Thank you to Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid for this masterpiece. Oh my God, the ending. Okay, well, I'm gonna go to bed and process and we will have collected thoughts in the morning. I haven't cried over a book like probably since Beartown, but even then it was just kind of welling up. It wasn't like sobbing. The tears were flowing. Wow. I like can't breathe. Okay, I'm gonna go brush my teeth. I need to get ready for bed. I have to go to the office tomorrow, so I don't know when I'm gonna see you tomorrow. It may be before work, it may be after, but we will debrief. I just need to like collect myself. Good night. It's the next morning and I have collected myself somewhat. I don't know if I'm fully collected, but I'm still just like undone by how incredible this book was. Just absolutely loved the premise of this story, the pacing, the writing, the characters. There just really wasn't anything not to like about it other than Barbara. If you know, you know. But all in all, it's just such a beautiful and truly human story. Taylor Jenkins Reid actually in some of the press and promo for this book was kind of talking about the premise and the setup. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like knowing a little bit of the context going in is actually really helpful to enjoying this book to the fullest. So the idea that the author had for this book was basically someone in Capcom in Mission Control, I think it's called, in Houston on the ground at NASA, who is kind of the voice, the communicator between Houston and the astronauts in space. So Joan ends up being on Capcom. She is that person in Houston on the ground, and she is desperately in love with someone that is in the space shuttle that she is communicating with, and things are going horribly wrong. And so that is kind of the premise and the setup that you need to know. I'm of course not going to tell you who the love interest is. Once again, you're gonna have to figure it out for yourself. But can you imagine the stress of that? Like, I'm sorry. And so basically we start off with the mission going wrong, and then we go back and we get Joan's backstory and we get these dual timelines. But it's kind of like that day, you know, of the mission where things are going wrong, and then all the buildup that led there, and we kind of alternate. One of the things I also particularly enjoyed about this novel is that Taylor Jenkins Reid has talked about how she really loves writing stories about women in male-dominated fields, which I think is evident from some of her other work. She just writes such strong female characters, and of course this one's no different. But given that Joan is really trying to prove herself and make her way in this male-dominated field, to be one of the first women to go up in the space shuttle program. There's a lot of talk about that. And that is something that really connected for me. There's talk about feminism. And Joan actually even talks with some of the other women in her class about like, why are we fighting each other on like how to handle this? We didn't create this problem. Like we aren't each other's enemy here. We need to figure out a way to like work together to fight back rather than like arguing with each other about like the way to do it, I guess. And that was one of my favorite parts for sure. But beyond that, this book is just kind of like a love letter to the universe. It talks so much about like our place in the world and how small we are and how insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things, but also how we really control like our own destinies and our energy and our love and how that can make our existence so infinite, so big, so meaningful. And the duality of that was just so beautiful. This book has just blown me out of the water. It's definitely been one of my favorites this year so far. And I know it's going to stick with me for a really long time. It's under 350 pages. It packs a punch. I never got bored. The pacing was perfect. I loved it. And I'm feeling the worst book hangover ever right now. Like I have no idea what to read next because nothing is going to measure up, I fear. So those are my thoughts on Atmosphere. You guys absolutely have to read this. I think anyone and everyone could enjoy this book. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this one too, because it was stunning. Okay, so when I set out to create this reading vlog, I was thinking about calling it like, how many 5 stars can we find in one video? But honestly, now that I finished Atmosphere, I don't really want to try to read any of my 5-star predictions because I just feel like I need to take a beat for a second before trying to like force another 5-star. I need a little breather. I need a little palate cleanser, something like a popcorn thriller or just a cheesy romance. I'm still just feeling like so emotionally in awe and like wrung out from Atmosphere. So I think this vlog is now going to be this video ends when I find a 5-star read. Thanks for following along and helping me get out of this little book slump I was in. I feel totally out of it, but also kind of put back into it by Atmosphere. But I do just feel like this video really helped me get back my excitement for reading, which was the goal. So I'm glad that it worked. I had so much fun reading 2 of my most anticipated releases of the year with you guys today. If you've read either of these books, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about them. And in case you're not following me on Goodreads or Fable, I post live updates on there as I'm reading things. So if you want to see what I'm reading in real time, that's a great place to go. If you made it this far in the video, comment down below with the planet emoji in honor of Atmosphere being a 5-star so I can know who made it to the end. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you super soon in another one. Bye!